All right, welcome to the Painter Podcast, the show built by painters for painters. I'm Max, owner of Fine Painting of Richmond, and each week I sit down with other painting business owners, share real stories behind the brush and how they got started, the lessons they learned the hard way, and the moments that made it all worth it. If you're out there building your business one job at a time, this is a place to learn, connect, and get inspired. Today, I'm joined by Brandon Martinez with B&J Painting. All right, Brandon, how you doing today, brother?
Pretty good. How about yourself? Just trying to stay dry with this weather down here in North Carolina.
North Carolina, yeah, dude. I'm in Virginia, right up north too, and yeah, I think we're getting some of that little pre-hurricane season weather. It's gonna be like all week here.
Yeah, that's what it's calling for.
Yeah, but yeah, man. Tell me a little bit about yourself? Like how'd you get into painting? Did you always imagine yourself becoming a painting business owner as a kid?
Well, no, but I've kind of been in the painting atmosphere for quite a while. My dad started painting probably back in 2007, 2008. At that time, I was probably still in elementary school, but once I got into middle school, I was a trouble kid. So the days I would get suspended, I would go, he would bring me along to, some apartments that were renovating. So he would, put me to caulk, putty, just
Yeah.
prep stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually he started working for another company, and on the summers I was probably about 14 when I did pressure washing for them,
Nice.
and since the boss didn't trust me on the brush inside, he would just have me helping my dad paint stained decks on exteriors. So it was just mainly
Oh yeah.
washing and staining.
Yeah, that's a good starting point. Just use the biggest brush, the easiest medium, slathering on stain on decks and stuff. Surprised they got you on a power washer at 14.
Yeah, I mean I
Yeah,
started probably washing around that time.
yeah.
And he would always tell me like, Brandon, I think you're gonna own your business one day. Now, a lot of like that business mindset, I kind of looked up to him. His name was Mark.
Mm,
He interior painting, I didn't learn a lot from him, mainly my dad, but he always put that in me. Like, he was like, I just see you one day owning your own business. And, I like the idea, but I never really thought about it.
mm,
So fast forward, I ended up, I didn't graduate from high school, so I ended up working for a pallet company like at night, and then during the day, I would go continue power washing for him and staining, and then
a
then I
full day
stopped.
hustling, man.
So I stopped, and I just sticked with the pallet. I was thinking about doing a pallet business, just because that's what me and my dad started doing a couple years later.
Mm,
And then I just got tired of it. I mean, then I was like, I want to start my own business, but I gotta like look at what do I know how to do. I didn't want to start something that I didn't know how to do.
sure, yeah,
So again, I wasn't like the super professional painter, but I thought I knew enough, which, I ended up learning a lot more after I started my business. And I've always trying to, do right, make the customer happy, and own your mistakes. I
yeah.
think
That's what
that's
it's
what's
all
good.
about, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. How'd you get your first customer?
Well, I started off as a sub, like
Well, yeah.
for a franchise, and I'm really thankful for with him because, like I said, I had all my stuff legit, my business, my insurance, my tools when I
Mm-hmm.
started, but I still had a lot to learn. So, thankfully he was patient, and even though I did make mistakes in the beginning, he was happy with our work, and as we continue to work as a sub, I just started getting more tools, and then eventually, um, I just, the money that they were paying me as a sub, after 20, I started in 18, no,
Mm-hmm.
2019, as a business. And then like after 2021, things just started getting more expensive. So I was like, I told him, I'm like, this is my minimum, and I understand, if you got to make money too, but I was
Mm-hmm.
kind of forced into that corner where it's like, okay, I have to get my own customers and kind of charge based on what I need.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So, like, right now, are you still getting subbed work from a franchise, or are you
No,
getting
no, now
leads
after
yourself?
like 2021, I stopped. and I've just been getting my own customers. I've got like a buddy or two that sometimes will refer me work and stuff like that, but it's just been us. No more contractors because some people do good with them and some people,
Yeah.
I've just had the bad luck to, not
Yeah.
not find good people like as contractors.
Yeah, same. It's unfortunately or fortunately, however you see it, the bar has been set kind of low for painting contractors and stuff for like what homeowners expect. And then if you're able to exceed that minimum bar of being like just a nice guy, do what you say you're gonna do,
Yeah.
like you're already above like 70 to 80% of the painting company owners out there. So I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
feel
the
I don't know,
thing
strong good people will succeed if you're
Yeah,
good at
and the
art.
thing is, like, sometimes as a contractor, your agreement with the customer is one, and then you have the guys go in, and sometimes that's kind of where like the stuff starts getting kind of weird, like the customer. I guess you just got to have the right communication, but sometimes
Hmm.
contractors can overpromise, and then in reality, it's just something that can't be done, and then that's where the issues start. And a lot of
That's
customers, that's like their main concern. Like, is the person doing the job? Does he know exactly what you and me talked about?
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes three can be a crowd, and any issue I've had with customers was like it was that middleman between me and the customer
Yeah.
didn't communicate something,
Yep.
and it just things can fall apart from there. And yeah, that's why I'm like, all right, I'm gonna be in control of my leads, my customers. I don't
Uh-huh.
want like this middleman, so you can still maintain the really good reputation and stuff like that. Yeah, we started in 2020 during the pandemic of all times, and strangely, it was a good time to be doing painting. People were in their homes just like looking at stuff and just like,
Yeah.
man, I could really shape this place up. And yeah, right around that time, that was a good time to go out on your own for sure. Yeah.
Yep.
So right now, is it just yourself or you got a helper or you got any crews
Well, my
with you?
my dad's been working with me ever since we started. He's
Mm-hmm.
like there full time. I had a cousin who was like full time too, but he ended up moving. So it's just mainly me and him. Like I found that I mean my goal is to get off of the truck, hopefully soon. I've found that, two or three people in a crew it's plenty to get stuff done. And for
Yeah.
bigger projects, I always have a couple painters that I bring along on bigger jobs to get it done. But
Nice.
on the everyday basis is mainly me and
Mm-hmm.
my dad.
So in the tools every day still with your dad. So like a crew of two people. Does that sound about on average? It's you and your dad. Nice, nice. So I'm sure there's plenty of highs and lows that come with that. Like, how do you on the rough weeks? How do you like? What's your why as to like getting out of bed and like, all right, we're gonna tackle this. We're gonna do this. What's your reason to get out of bed and tackle it in the morning?
Well, basically, if I go back to why I started the business, it was mainly to have my dad working with me. I was kind of,
Yeah,
tired of having him work for people who didn't really treat their employees right and stuff like that. So that was the main reason. So on a daily basis, it's like I want to continue to build the business so I can give back to, my parents, help my parents
absolutely.
because, they're getting older
Hmm.
and obviously my family, my kids, my goal is to have my wife, stay home, raise the kids. That's kind of what she's been doing ever since we started the business. But
Mm,
of course there's times where, it can get rough. Um,
sure.
that's kind of the goal, provide for my family, have time for my kids, and so they can see that um what a man is supposed to do. A man's supposed to take care of their family.
Absolutely.
And their mom, and I want their mom to, kind of just focus on raising them. And there's always plenty of stuff to do. Raising
Yeah,
kids isn't easy these days, especially
absolutely.
the way that the world is getting. So if no one's there, year after year, kind of on them or waiting for them, giving them attention and the love that they need, it starts to get out of hand as soon as they start getting older.
Absolutely. Yeah, dude. That's beautiful, man. That's what it's really all about is family, taking care of your family, being able to also be there for your family physically. Something I've learned over this past 2 years when I started hiring people, it was being able to replace myself became the priority. I had an injury from painting from a sprayer, actually, a high pressure injury where there was a pinhole in the hose, and I tried to stop it with my hand, but it was so powerful it shot the paint into my hand, turned
Wow.
into a pumpkin. Had to get it all debrided and all that. So I was out for like a few weeks, and I realized like, man, like without me, there's no money coming in. Like
Yeah.
I need to like set something up to like so that I can like it can run without me,
Yep.
basically. Yeah. And then so I was like, all right, I'm gonna get our numbers straight, gonna start hiring people, get some systems in order. Like so first I got a helper, Tatiana. She's ended up being fantastic. And then I hired my friend as like a team lead to be more like the customer service, like replace. He was gonna be replacing me, just like the customer service, doing daily check-ins, making sure they were really happy. Then Tatiana brought her son on one day, and he just kind of stuck around. Then I had like a crew of 3 people before I knew it, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh man, okay, like I need to. I really got some people to provide for. Like they have families and stuff now too. So I was like, how can I like make sure I have a lever to like know like, all right, I need this many leads this week. I need this many jobs to fill this calendar so I can keep these people busy. And then also having the time to just focus on just sales or just growing the business rather than just being in a day to day.
Yeah.
That's that's been it's really been a life changer. But just kind of changing that mindset of like growing the business rather than being in the business day to day. Because then you got estimates that you have to do while you're painting too.
Yeah.
So like you got during the day to complete the job, and then you have like some hours after work, and then you get home at like 7 or 8, and you're like, now I got to write up the estimates. And so it's like just taking the first steps of like, I was always really slow to grow because I was like, I really need to know that I can take care of someone else. And it's kind of what Painter Profit does. We just kind of we're that lever of like helping painting companies just get leads coming in and automated. That's basically what we do. I can tell you about that later though.
Okay.
Uh, but more about you. So like where on a day to day, um, it's you, your dad doing the painting, you're dealing with the customers, doing the estimates, correct?
Yep.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. I was doing it for a long time, brother. It's, yeah. Where you, are they mainly like referral, like word of mouth, or are you doing Andrew's list or anything like that?
Mainly it's word of mouth. That's kind of how it's been, and I've never really gotten into any marketing, so I feel that this is probably as much as I've been able to grow like without marketing. So
Mm-hmm.
now, this coming year, it's I'm trying to make a lot of changes. I've gotten a lot off of Facebook Marketplace. When I
Yeah.
tell
Yeah.
when I tell people about it, they don't believe it, but probably my biggest jobs have came from Marketplace. Now
Wow.
it's weird because if you word it wrong, they won't approve your post.
That's what I'm always, yeah. When I first started, I tried doing that, but I was never approved. Like,
But it's
what's
like
your
the
secret?
yeah, the people that are on it is like they get it. Like you can't really say, "Hey, I do painting." Like just put a picture of your work, just put painting or paint. Like and people just get it. Like they'll message you asking for estimates. And that's kind of like the only way to get it through. Like even with cabinet painting, like I've gotten jobs off of there, and I just put a picture of like kitchen cabinets, and I just put cabinet paint. So Facebook thinks I'm selling cabinet paint, but it's
But if you say
actually
ing at the end, like painting, it's like,
yeah. No,
hey,
I
no,
just
no.
put cabinet paint. And people message me now. I've tried like little ads here and there, and I've never gotten anything but off of Marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
I've done really well from Marketplace, and then of course, you have the opportunity that those people will recommend you as well.
Gotcha. Wow. Yeah, I've never heard that people succeeding with that. That's awesome to hear that you can make it work though if you just tweak the post a little bit.
Yeah,
I
that's the
have to give that
key.
a try.
That's the key.
That's awesome, man. Then so like you want to make some changes for this next year. Like what do you imagine like a year from now in 2026? What's like your kind of goals for next year?
Well, my goal is for for the business is to get more leads. because that's kind of what sometimes has been our our slow time
Hmm.
because we aren't getting enough leads to do estimates on. So my goal
Hmm.
for next year is have more leads, have more workflow, and hopefully I can at least replace myself on the field. That way I can focus on working on the business, on estimates, and all of that because it's really hard, and that can hurt your business in the long run because you're trying to do everything and sometimes you might forget uh to get to somebody back, or you
Yeah.
might not have time to write up an estimate when you said you would,
Hmm.
or get to appointments a little late. My goal is to just try to replace myself on the field, but for that I got to have enough workflow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just a feeling of consistency, knowing what to expect week to week can definitely help bring the stress level down a little bit too, of like laying in bed at night and just being like, oh man, what's going to happen next week? That was the biggest difference I noticed when I started implementing like Facebook ads and stuff like that. I was like, all right, like I have a sense of control, like a lever to like control, like if I need more, just put more out. If I need less, put less out, less ad spend, stuff like that. Yeah, that's definitely a good goal for 2026. Very realistic too. I have a good feeling for 2026. It's usually usually the year after is when there's like a nice boom. People start feeling more like, okay, I don't need to like hold on to my money as much. Like I can
Yeah,
put things into my house and home improvement stuff. But yeah, especially like going into winter and stuff, I found that's usually the hardest time. But just having a feeling of knowing consistency, all that, it's
yeah,
pretty comforting, I guess you could say.
yeah.
And what would you say like one of your biggest wins of 2025 has been?
I guess I could say one of the biggest wins for 2025 has been we probably done better this year in less time, like with sales, than the other years. Now, every year as of now, I'm not experiencing a huge growth, but it does get better than the previous year.
Yeah,
So
that's
I feel like this year we've definitely had more in sales in less time, and I feel a bit more confident. I've built better relationships with customers.
hmm
I've met new people through networking, and I think as far as biggest wins, that's probably been it.
that's awesome. Well, that's a perfect
We've had some
example of
pretty good.
your work speaking for
Yeah,
itself and doing good work. People refer you to their friends refer you to their friends. That's awesome. It means you're doing something good. That's
yeah.
fantastic, man. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, how do you usually approach like building trust with clients in terms of like what makes you stand apart from like if someone's getting multiple quotes or something like that? I assume able to build some rapport with the customers. They can tell you're a nice guy. How do you usually try to build trust?
Well, the feedback that I get from customers is communication. Like
Absolutely.
sometimes they'll tell me I called this company, this company, and nobody got back to me. Or they would say they came, looked at the job, and they never followed up with an estimate. And I
Hmm.
get it. When I was starting out, sometimes you would feel like you would feel that okay, this customer's just gonna say no. I'm not even gonna waste my time on an estimate, and I feel that maybe that's what sometimes people do. But then again, a lot of the feedback that I get from the customers is that it's communication and transparency. Like probably in the last year, what I started doing was not trying to like if the customer says, "Hey, I want all this painted," and by the end of the day, I forgot who I heard it from, and they said like, "Figure out what your customer needs." Like
Absolutely.
yes,
Listening to the
you
customer.
can give them an estimate to do everything, and it's probably gonna be out of their budget anyway, but figure out what they really need, why, then you can tackle that because that's now they're not just telling you, "Oh, I want a quote just to paint my whole house." Like, what about they're just really interested in like the first floor, on a two-story home, and that
Hmm.
way, like that there's some sort of urgency there,
Hmm.
and now that they understand that you're not just trying to rip them off, take their money, like you're trying to see what do they really want done and why.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's kind of where you start building that confidence, instead of
Hmm.
just coming in and, "Oh, what you need done? Okay, I got it. I'll send your estimate later." Like, Okay, like they're like you didn't build anything with them.
Yeah, the last thing they're looking for is just a number when you come do an estimate. They're getting multiple estimates. Yeah, dude, that's awesome. It sounds like you're a very honest, honorable man, doing honest work, making sure to do right by the customers, and yeah, that'll take you very far, I've found.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
then
I'm a believer. I go to church, and I'm not perfect, but when you do right, God is gonna make sure you get. He's gonna provide with what you need. So that's the
absolutely,
big thing. Back then I would try to figure everything out myself. I wanted to force and make things happen, and sometimes it's just not that way. Put your heart in the right place, your priorities in the right place, and if his will is to make you big, like the Bible says, when you humble yourself, he exalts you. You don't have to go out there and try to be the biggest guy, the biggest company. You do right, put your heart in the right place, and he'll make it happen.
absolutely, dude. That's awesome, Brandon. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your story with us, man. So that's it for the Painter Profit podcast. Thanks for listening, and a huge shout out to Brandon for sharing his story. If you got value from this one, share with another contractor who's out there grinding. Keep building smarter, not harder. See you next time.